And here we go again. This time a really quick video to remind you about the parts of the explanation section. And let's get started. So we're going to talk about rule explanations. Specifically, we're going to talk about case illustrations. So if you remember, rule explanation is separated by concepts. And within each concept, you need 4 things, at least. You need a hook, and then you need a case illustration, and at least one other case that supports that hook. You could have 2 case illustrations under one hook. You could have 3. You could have 1 case illustration and an explanatory parenthetical, but every hook needs to be supported by at least one thing, at least 2 cases. So let's talk about the hook first. Remember that the hook explains the relationship between the rules and prior case law, and it helps focus the reader's attention on what she should be learning. So it is more than just saying what a case says. It is actually talking about the concept that you are trying to explain with your case illustration. Your hook can set forth the legal principle of the cases, or it can do a mishmash and put together a couple of facts to prove a principle that you're trying to do. And your hook should always be followed by a citation. Just as a reminder, this is what a topic sentence looks like. This is what you all were used to writing prior to law school. Smith v. State dealt with the issue of whether the state proved grand theft. That doesn't really talk about the concept. That just gives an overall view of what a case talked about. That's not what you want here. You want a hook. Here, the state must prove the defendant had specific intent to commit theft at the time of the taking. Now we're talking about the concept. We're talking about specific intent to commit theft. And then you follow that by a citation. You want to make sure that the reader knows what legal point you are directing them to, as opposed to an overview of what case you're going to talk about. I hope you notice the difference. And after your hook, you need trigger facts. Remember, it's hook, then it's F, then it's H, then it's R. The F is for facts or trigger facts. Trigger facts are the facts that triggered a court's holding in a prior case. What facts were critical or key to the court ruling as it did? The trigger facts help the reader see why the court reached the conclusion that it did. Merely saying that a court reached a conclusion is not helpful to the reader because they can't move that to your case. They need to see what facts made the court rule as it did. And remember, in your application, you're going to show how your facts were similar or distinguishable from those facts to show how a court will act in your case. Remember that you only need the trigger facts for the narrow point that you are using that case for. Your case illustration is not a case brief. Your case illustration is solely showing a specific legal point and the facts that go to that legal point. After your F comes your H, which would be the court's holding. Here, the holding describes the court's answer to the legal concept that you're illustrating, what your hook was about. Not the case as a whole, but the holding as to the issue that the court is ruling about for the concept you're using. Remember, the cases may have several different holdings. You need to talk about the one that's relevant to the idea that you're trying to illustrate in your case illustration. After the holding comes the R. Remember, F, H, then R. The R is the court's reasoning. The court's reasoning is its explanation of how existing law, when applied to the facts of that case, led the court to the conclusion regarding the concept that you are illustrating and that you raised in your hook. Remember that sometimes the courts don't fully give their reasoning. Other times you may be limited to simply redescribing the trigger facts and stating the holding based on those facts. So as an example of a single FHR, we're not talking about the hook anymore, just a single FHR. Here is an FHR on golfing. Remember, I'm just doing the FHR, no hook. In golfing, 2 officers approached a group of men while out patrolling an area known for crime. Several of the men left the area, but one remained to talk to the officers. One of the officers requested the remaining man's identification, which the man provided voluntarily. Note that every single one of these fact statements are followed by a citation. While the officer was processing the man's identification, the man stated that there may be a warrant out for his arrest. Upon confirmation of the warrant, the officer arrested the man and discovered drug and paraphernalia while conducting a search. Those are the facts. Now comes the court's holding regarding the type of stop. The court found that the officer's request for an ID did not evolve the encounter into an investigatory stop because the man voluntarily provided the documentation and the officer processed it in his presence. So now you have the holding. Why did the court rule that way? Well, the court emphasized that the man could have requested his ID back or walked away at the outset like the others, and therefore the stop was consensual and informational. That's an FHR. Now, for the hook concept to be complete, there would need to be a second case FHR, or there would need to be a explanatory parenthetical citation with another case that found that a stop was consensual. Then you could have a but C to show the distinguishing, but you need at least 2 cases to support, at least 2 cases to support every single hook concept. To try to help you guys do better with case illustrations and FHRs, we have more group work. These are the groups. You will find the assignment on Canvas. Within your group and the assignment, there is an FHR. I want you to answer the questions on the group explanation exercise, and then I want your group to collectively rewrite the explanation paragraph using the worksheet, which is the exercise itself, as a guide. One member of the group must email me the group's written explanation paragraph, and I will provide some brief feedback on each individual assignment. This needs to be done before Monday's class. And with that, I will see you all Monday. Have a good one.